Soak it all in.
I can come back and show that at a later time. So that's
Being
why
a
I said
member
this
of a
as a
Greek
straightforward
letter
way.
organization, there are similarities, but there's no pipeline to anything.
Explain to us what the Boule is all about. So what we'd like you to do is tell us the history of the Boule, who the Boule are, their origins, and the relationship to the ruling class.
Thank you, brother. One, I would thank you for hosting me and my friends here, and appreciate you and all your company. Everybody's excessively intense, and that is the demand of the day. This secret society, this particular black secret society that we'll talk about today, is the first of the black Greek societies, started in 1904. And that word that you said, Boule, is actually an acronym. It's a Sigma Pi Phi. Sigma Pi Phi, 1904 in Philadelphia. And for most of our people, we are not prepped to the responsibility of secret society in the American society. Mm-hmm. And this founding constitution, this illegal criminal enterprise, was a Masonic affair. And a Masonry is a form of secret society. There are other well-known secret societies like Skull and Bones at Yale, of which this corrupt president and his father were members of. And it is that society that the black society modeled itself after. So when they wrote their first history book, The History of Sigma Pi Phi, by a very noted black author, University president Charles Wesley, who wrote the history book for the Elks, the Prince Hall Masons, National Council of Negro Women, Alpha Phi Alpha, and Sigma Pi Phi. And as a result, in there, in page 28 of its first history book, it noted that it wanted to be like Skull and Bones at Yale. It was right here in Los Angeles at the Good Life on a Friday night. If you remember this time, the NAACP had a convention here, and LeGrand Klieg and Marla Gibbs were accused of making inflammatory statements.
Working with Dr. Graham's book, The Mannequin Light Motif.
Yes, that weekend, the Boule was meeting here, July of 1990. They were having their twice every other year convention, biannual. And it was a front page article in the LA Times by Karen Grigsby Gates, who denoted that these elite black men were meeting in Los Angeles at this time. That was the first. I remember sending someone to the car to bring it in, and we read it from the stage of the Boule on July 18th, the day the story appeared, front page LA Times. And I thought it was unusual that the LA Times knew of this society, and I didn't know of them. Now, for our audience to understand, I'm starting off trying to explain to black people the impact of international policy groups like the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, when the bankers began to take over the American cities in the 70s, New York 75, Cleveland 77, Chicago 79, and here in California they used Proposition 13 to suck up the surplus out the budget, and bankers began to take over from municipalities the governing of the cities. And as I was scratching, I could not figure out how was there such black complicity in this centralization of worldwide power, the New World Order. It's on the dollar bill, pyramid by white men who never built one, never saw one, but they emulated this symbol. And now comes a series of societies, and now comes forth this black one in 1904. As we began to read deeper, it had another analogy in the story to Skull and Bones. It wasn't until we got the history book that the analogy that looked happenstantial in the story in the LA Times was actually deeper in the actual history book, where they drew attention to Skull and Bones. It denoted that W.E.B. Du Bois was a member, and it began to describe people, influential people in the present-day society, and historically, our university, historically black college presidents are primarily coming out of this, advisors to the king. And that word, that Boule word, can be looked up in a encyclopedia. Well, now people don't use them, they use internet. And that's a dangerous thing, a dangerous dependency. But Boule, B-O-U-L-E, the Greek version. There's a French version that's a coming together, a conclave, the AKA called their convention, the Boule. But the Greek word is what we're looking for, the advisors to the king. The lower house of the Greek parliament is called boule. And if you know the American congressional system, Senate, 6 years, more power, authority, only 100, 2 per state. Congress, 435, have to run every 2 years. Your lower house has less power and authority. So it appears as if, in finding the boule, that within it was a subordination to something else. And in its history book, it drew attention. Here's a logo. And this is their logo is a Grecian sphinx. It's an animal. And this Grecian sphinx is similar to a griffin or a gargoyle. Kind of ironically, the boule had their convention in Los Angeles in 1941. And where else? Griffin Park. And this logo, this symbol, is a guardian animal. This would be similar to a Rottweiler or a dog or a German Shepherd. They tend to protect something higher than itself.
Let me ask you a question. I went to Howard University, for instance. There are a number of African so-called Greek societies, fraternities, as well as in our community, there's a number of secret, semi-secret organizations. How is the boule different than the numerous fraternities and groups in our community? What is the relationship to the ruling class?
Father, son. The nine make up the axis of the Black Greek dynasty. There are 4 male societies, 4 female societies, and the boule make the 9th one. They're the first, 1904 series, the Alphas. I'm not versed in the exact order, but I have all of their history books, and each of them draw attention to things where they got their ritual from. The Deltas draw attention to Freemasonry. Said our ritual came from Mary Church Terrell, whose husband, Robert Terrell, was head of the Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C. Mary Church Terrell, Mary Church, is the daughter of the first black millionaire in America, Robert Church of Memphis, Tennessee. Huge mausoleum to him there. Those societies, those 4 male, those 4 female, and the boule tend to make up a aristocracy. We talk...
And it goes back to what Jay Smoothie was saying earlier. You don't have to be a Mason to be a Shriner. You don't have to be a Mason to be a lot of these organizations. So there's no direct connection to any of these organizations. I became Greek in college. I didn't become a Mason until later in my life. They have no connection. My fraternity connections didn't help me become a Mason.
Hey, look.
Oh, so let me clarify. You said that
you a turtle too?
I'm not.
Okay. But that ain't got nothing to do with masonry. See what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be no Mason to do. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
So you're saying you can be a Shriner and not be a Mason, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I would definitely like for someone to confirm that, because I heard somebody say otherwise. But
well, no.
If that's how you guys operate. If that's how you guys operate now, then that's how you operate now.
No. Hold on.
I don't know nothing about that.
At first, you had to be either a Knights Templar or a 32nd degree Master Mason to be a Shriner. But now, in certain jurisdictions, you don't have to do. And I'm only talking about Prince Hall, because
Correct.
I know a dude that's a Shriner, and he wasn't a Mason, but he was a Shriner. So they changed it to where you don't have to be a Mason to be a Shriner. So, again, like, and anybody who is Shrine, you got people that'll tell you Shrine don't got nothing to do with Masonry.
At all.
So, and I'm not no Shriner, but majority of the men in my lodge are. So, but I'm not. Do I have any? I'm not no Shriner, and I'm not going Shrine. It's just something that's I'm not led by the Spirit to do. So that's just something that I ain't doing. But that don't mean that it opened the doors necessarily. Maybe back then, but now you don't have to be no. Some people join Masonry just to be Shriners because they made it their rule, and then they don't even deal with Masonry no more like that. So
Do you know who Arthur Edward Waite is? He's a Masonic author. By the way, he's also a Rosicrucian. Well, he wrote a book I would recommend you guys to read. But this is what he says within the book. Beneath the broad tide of human history flow the stealthy undercurrent of the secret societies, which frequently determine in the depths the changes that take place upon the surface. You don't need no seer or no interpreter to really understand what that is basically saying. But he says two other parts that I want to read to you guys, so you guys can grasp what he's trying to say. These societies have existed in all ages and among all nations. Traditions has invariably ascribed to them the possession of important knowledge in the religious, scientific, or political order, according to the various character of their pretensions. Now he finishes off by saying this last thing right here. But like I said, this is Arthur Edward Waite's, and I would recommend you guys read his book. Actually, that was it. His Arthur Edward Waite's The Real History of the Rosicrucian, and that was in his preface.
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Bottom line, in masonry and in life in general, there's only one creator. There's one Elohim. I mean, there's one God, there's one deity, there's one grand architect, there's only one. So at the end of the day, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. It don't matter what these Jesuits say, what nobody, whether you Masonic or not, there's only one true creator. Now, if anybody feel as though with me being a Mason, that I'm not under the spirit of the Most High, then I welcome that challenge for them to prove me wrong with the scriptures and with Masonry.
I want to just say one thing before I hop off because this has been great. But conspiracy truth. I don't know what your real name is. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm gonna implore you to not research as much and more so critically think outside of the things that you research. And the reason why I say that is because taking a step out of it and looking at it from a non-biased scope will help you realize a lot of different things. Like, and one of the most important things I want you to try to grasp onto is all these organizations and people, they take things from different things. So you're finding similarities in these different people and these different organizations and these different bodies and entities because people genuinely do pull ideas from other people. It's just like when you see TikTok, right? TikTok's algorithm, you'll scroll for three scrolls and see the same three things over and over again because people hop onto what's popular. People hop onto something that they associate themselves to. So the Bible, for a good example, a lot of organizations use the Bible as their ruling guide or their premise for how the organization runs, but they haven't always done it. They've done it because they've seen the church does it, or they do it because they see Masons, or they do it because they see that, you know, in the court you have to put your hand on the Bible. Like, a lot of organizations and people do these things because they've seen it done, but it doesn't necessarily have a connection to where they got it from. Just like I said, when we have these fictitious bodies of Masonry, especially Prince Hall running around claiming to be Masons, they've taken certain rituals and certain things and certain grips or secrets that you want to call them and incorporate it into their body, but then they'll go off and do their own thing with some of the same things that we share in similarity. You get what I'm saying? So just take a step back at it and look at it from a non-biased scope, and you'll be able to see how things connect and where they may have actually got the connection from versus saying that they're all connected and it's a pipeline. You get what I'm saying?
No, I definitely get what you're saying. Before you leave, I would want to leave you off with something as well. Have you ever studied the Hegelian dialectic system?
I haven't studied it, but I am familiar.
Well, you understand that there's a thesis and an antithesis, and with those, combating and fighting against each other, it'll make a synthesis. Just to just sum it up, not to get into the scientific aspect of it. But you would agree, correct?
To an extent, yes.
Okay. Well, do you know the person who created the Hegelian dialectic system?
Not sure.
Okay, it was this man named Georg Hegel, and he obviously within his name, Hegelian. This is what he created the system for the Illuminati, for Adam Weishaupt and his people. But this is what it says about the Hegelian system. In the Hegelian system, conflict is essential. So chaos is essential. Furthermore, for Hegel and systems based on Hegel, the state is absolute. So you guys should already know what that word means. The state requires complete obedience from the individual citizen, people like me and you, and Jay Smoothie and everybody else on here. An individual does not exist for himself in these so-called organic systems, but only to perform a role in the operation of the state. He finds freedom only in obedience to the state. There was no freedom in Mustache Place. There is no freedom for the individual under Marxism. I've read the Communist Manifesto. People say that it is really hard to understand and read. It is, but still read it though. But it says this though: neither will there be in the new world. You get it. And if it sounds like George Orwell's 1984, I read that or seen about the footage, and it is. So what I'm saying is, if you think that these people aren't plotting against us, society members, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
The people pushing for totalitarianism don't care one whit for them. Once their usefulness is done, out of here. If you're not going to have something positive to contribute to the new world order, you're out of here. Forget about you. They don't care.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
I mean, if I see a fire, if I'm in a fire and I'm in a building and I'm in an apartment, I'm going to warn as many people as possible. And if you don't accept it, that's totally fine. I'm not going to, get mad at you, throw rocks at you. That's your choice. I'm just not trying to see nobody get burnt in the process. And if we look at the information and where things are headed and where society is headed, we can clearly see that it's heading toward the conspiracy theorist, or we could just say conspiracy truth now. People were saying it was headed.
The story begins in Bavaria on May 1st, 1776. May 1st is now the satanic holiday of Beltane. Adam Weishaupt, Anton von Mustenhausen, Merz Tiberius, Franz Xavier Zwack, and Adolf Baron von Nige formed the Order of the Illuminati. Weishaupt's philosophy was that the Illuminati should rule the world. Adam Weishaupt said the following, quote, "The great strength of our order lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but by another name and another activity. None is fitter than Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, expect little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it," unquote. So it was said, they would infiltrate Freemasonry to achieve their goal. The one who helped Weishaupt gain admission into lodges was Adolf Baron von Nige. Adolf attained the highest degree of the Knights Templar, the Cypric Knight, in 1777 at Hanau. Here's a depiction of a Knights Templar initiation ritual. From late 1777 and onward, Weishaupt and his order infiltrated Masonic lodges all over Belgium, Austria, France, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Hungary, and Italy. One of Weishaupt's first initiates, Louis Philippe Joseph, Duke of Orleans, had already been initiated into the French Grand Lodge, and according to Mackey's Encyclopedia, he was elected Grand Master in 1773 upon the death of Count de Clermont. Weishaupt stated that the plan for the New World Order could not successfully be executed in any other way than through secret societies that gradually and quietly took over government. The Illuminati gained significant control on July 16, 1782, at the Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad. This meeting included Masons from all over Europe and Illuminati members such as von Nige. Here the Illuminati spread their doctrine and promoted their ideology. This allowed them to solidify their control over Masonic lodges of Europe and to be viewed as the leaders of the occult One World movement. The Congress was held at Mayor Amschel Rothschild's castle in Wilhelmsbad. The Congress included representatives of all secret societies, Martinists as well as Freemasons and Illuminati. This historian Nesta Webster tells us this: those in the Congress were under oath to reveal nothing. One such Mason, Comte d'Ivory, a member of the Martinist Lodge at Lyons, returning from the Congress, could not conceal his alarm, and when questioned on the tragic secrets, he had brought back with him this reply, quote, "I will not confide them to you. I can only tell you that this is very much more serious than you think. The conspiracy which is being woven is so well thought out that it will be, so to speak, impossible for the monarchy and the church to escape it." That's from his biographer M. Costa Bergerard. In Mackey's Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, page 346 and 347, he says, quote, "The order was very popular and enrolled no less than 2,000 names upon its register, among whom were some of the most distinguished men of Germany. It extended rapidly into other countries, and its lodges were to be found in France, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Hungary, and Italy," unquote. As the order grew very powerful in Europe, patriotic ruler Duke Karl Theodor came to power in Bavaria. He issued a ban against all secret societies in Bavaria. For this reason, on July 20th, 1785, Franz George Lang was struck by lightning and died on a courier route with instructions from Weishaupt about the planned French Revolution, addressed to the Grand Master of the Grand Orient in Paris. Everything was handed over to the Bavarian government. On August 4th, a new ban on secret societies was issued. On February 11th, Weishaupt was discharged and forbidden to live in Ingolstadt or Munich. On February 16th, he went underground and was hidden by his Illuminati brother, Joseph Martin. A few days later, he fled to Nuremberg for a short while, and then traveled to the free city of Rathenberg, where he continued his activities underground. Although the Bavarian government arrested as many Illuminati members as they could possibly find, and even had 4 testify exposing the satanic nature of its aims, by this point the Illuminati so thoroughly enmeshed itself into Freemasonry across Europe, there was no telling where Illuminism ended and Freemasonry began. The documents that were seized by the Bavarian government were sent to all European leaders to warn them, but there was a failure to heed warning. Some of the European leaders had already fallen under the influence of the Illuminati, and others found it just too difficult to believe. Many people believe that it was at this time that the Illuminati was effectively disbanded and stopped in 1785, but that's not what the evidence points to. We know from credible sources that the Illuminati spread all over Europe and got no less than 3,000 members, so how could the Bavarian government control that? It doesn't make sense. Adam Weishaupt succeeded at forging an alliance between Illuminized Freemasonry and the growing Rothschild banking network. This gave the order the means to carry out its plans and to multiply its influence. That's Nesta Webster World Revolution, page 20, and Count Egan Caesar Corti, The Rise of the House of Rothschild, page 10. As a result of the alliance with the Rothschilds, the Illuminati grew, it took root, it flourished, it gathered itself more men of royal and noble titles. Even the Jesuits joined. The Rothschilds had played a major role in the Bavarian Illuminati, hosting the Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad. When Amschel Rothschild died, headship fell onto Nathan Rothschild of England. The bloodline continued to infiltrate lodges in England. He was initiated into London's Lodge of Emulation, Fritz Springmeier bloodlines of the Illuminati. Karl Rothschild became leader in 1818. An Alta Vendetta document that Karl prepared was sent to the headquarters of Masonry. A copy of the document was lost and the Masons were upset and offered a reward for the return of the document. It was called Practical Code of Rules, Guide for the Heads of the Highest Grades of Freemasonry. James Rothschild spread his family to France. James was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite, Fritz Springmeier bloodlines of the Illuminati. "13 years after the Illuminati supposedly stopped, Reverend G.W. Snyder wrote George Washington a letter, August 22, 1798. He says, quote, "A society of Freemasons that distinguished itself by the name of Illuminati, whose plan is to overthrow all government and religion. It might be within your power to prevent the horrid plan from corrupting these English lodges over which you preside." Unquote. Here's the original manuscript sources of George Washington's writings from the U.S. Government Printing Office. In response to Snyder's letter, Washington writes, quote, "I have heard much of the nefarious and dangerous plan and doctrines of the Illuminati. It is not my intention to doubt that the doctrine of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am." So what he's saying is, you don't have to tell me about the Illuminati and what they're doing in New York. I already know. When he says he's satisfied, that does not mean he's happy about it. In that Old English context, it means he's convinced of it. So no one is more convinced than I am. Then he says, and I'm going to paraphrase for you because it's in Old English. He says, "The idea that I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of the Freemasons in this country had as societies endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first, the Illuminati, or the pernicious principles of the latter, the Jacobins, but that there are individuals in the Masonic order who may have done this." So he's saying that no whole lodge in America is involved in this as a whole society, but individuals in the lodges may be, or that the founder or instruments employed to found the democratic societies in the United States, later known as the Democratic Party, may have had these objects in mind, and actually had the separation of the people from their government in view is too evident to be questioned. So what he's saying is he knows of the Illuminati's plans, they are real, no whole lodge is involved in it in America yet, but individuals in the lodges probably are, and the Democratic Party was founded by a secret society of Masons that want to divide the people from their government, and it's too evident to be questioned. Joseph Willard, president of Harvard in 1812, said, quote, "There is sufficient evidence that a number of societies of the Illuminati have been established in this land. They are doubtless trying to secretly undermine all our ancient institutions, civil and sacred. The enemies of all order are seeking our ruin. Should they prevail, our independence would fall, of course. A republican government would be annihilated." The U.S. State Department began a close relationship with the Grand Orient of France in the late 1930s. Marshal Henry Philip Pétain was against Freemasonry. He closed down the Grand Orient in 1940. He then forced legislation demanding the disbanding of all secret societies. Masons were forced to either resign from their posts or from their lodges. Pétain was a traitor, and he was working with the German army, providing them with large food supplies and manufactured goods. Pétain had a total of 5,000 Masons arrested. He took the opportunity to confiscate the archives of the Freemasons, which were handed to the German government. The Freemasons took their revenge on Pétain in 1945 when he was sentenced to life in prison for treason. So with the help of Pétain, the Germans had the powerful French Grand Orient archives, but not for long. After a grueling and bloody battle, the Soviets had their way with Germany, and in 1945 at Castle of Alten in Niederschleusen, the Red Army came across 25 large German railway cars containing the powerful French Grand Orient archives. The documents gave a comprehensive picture of the secret power wielded by international Freemasonry. The information in the documents contained important details about the Masonic conspiracy for a New World Order, One World Government with the West. With the aid of the secret Masonic archives, Stalin was able to blackmail several Western Masonic politicians who feared exposure. Even the pro-Masonic magazine, Freemasonry Today, Autumn 2001 edition, talks about the same thing. Quote, "On June 14, 1940, the German army entered Paris and on the same day took control of the buildings of the Grand Orient de France. At Rue Cadet, situated in the center of the city, German military intelligence officers also paid a visit to the homes of the Masons. On July 1st, 1940, the German Foreign Minister Alfred Rosenberg informed Martin Bormann that, quote, the great treasures had been discovered in occupied Masonic premises. Teams were established to seize documents relating to the workings of the Grand Orient, the largest organized body of French Freemasonry. They seized valuable historical documents specifically targeting files covering the Grand Orient's external relations from the middle of the 19th century. Stalin's victorious Red Army later transferred them to Moscow's Special Central State Archives, where their very existence remained a state secret. It was not until after the fall of the communist regime in 1990 that an American researcher, Kennedy Grimstead, revealed their existence. After prolonged negotiations, the archives were successfully returned to France. According to the Grand Orient's librarian, Pierre Molière, this was like Christmas many times over. Illuminized Masonic symbolism is all over America. On the back of the dollar bill on the left-hand side above the pyramid it says Annuit Coeptus, which means our enterprise is now a success, or a crowned success. So what enterprise does it mean? Well, Novus Ordo Seclorum near the bottom, Novus meaning new, Ordo is order, Seclorum is where we get our word secular, meaning the world. So it means new order of the world, simply New World Order. So what it's saying is the New World Order is now a crowned success. This was put on the dollar bill in 1934. 1934 is when the Federal Reserve took total control of the United States monetary system. The Fed is essentially controlled by two Illuminati bloodlines, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason, placed the seal on the dollar bill. Roosevelt was also in the Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, known for its satanic rituals. The pyramid has 13 steps. In fact, the number 13 is on the bill everywhere. 13 leaves on the olive branch, 13 berries, 13 stripes on the shield, 13 arrows, 13 stars, 13 letters on E pluribus unum, and 13 letters in Annuit Coeptus. Now some people believe 13 is on the bill due to the 13 colonies, but dig a little bit deeper and you'll find the real answer. The 13 colony explanation is subliminal, indirect, reverse psychological propaganda. That's how these people do things. We must go back to the first occurrence of the number 13 in order to discover its key significance. It occurs first in Genesis 14 verse 4. It says 12 years they served Kedalaner, and in the 13th year they rebelled. These people are rebelling against the divine natural order, and Adam Weishaupt was a rebel as well. The other half of the meaning comes from Fritz Springmeier. 13 also represents the 13 top Illuminati families that he traced back to the late 18th century and the early 19th century. He is credible, and that's why he was framed by the government and thrown in a cage. 1776 is in Roman numerals near the bottom. Some think it's because of the founding of the country. Another case of subliminal, indirect, reverse psychological propaganda. 1776 is when the Illuminati was formed. The New World Order. Another striking fact is that the eagle has 32 feathers on the right wing, the number of ordinary degrees of the Scottish Rite. There's 33 feathers on the left wing, representing the 33rd degree. The tail has 9 feathers, which represents the 9th degree of the York Rite. The eagle itself is a prominent icon in Masonry, extensively used in the Scottish Rite. Here's your average Freemasonic enter-apprentice initiation ritual, caught on a hidden camera. But then later something more nefarious. They're standing and sitting around a pentagram. These are your Freemasons. They have a goat on the pentagram, and they're doing a satanic sacrifice, draining the blood of the goat into a bucket. You can see them cutting the neck. Now, if you have family members that are Freemasons, do not be alarmed of this video. This probably doesn't happen at the Blue Lodge, the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd degree. This is most likely a 33rd degree ritual. These people use symbolism and code to communicate with each other, showing their dominance over the world. You'll notice that the pyramid and the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill is the exact same as the British intelligence service, MI5. This is a display of power. They're saying they control these two countries. Thus, they control the world.
Because they are combining humans with robots. They are implementing AI in society. They also are doing many other different things as far as digital ID that would be probably in the skin. So, I mean, these things are happening, and these things were so-called, cuckoo stuff back then. But now it's not so cuckoo. And I'm not trying to say this because, not every conspiracy theorist out there is true. And I'll admit that. But what I'm saying is the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm presenting facts and information from high people in society. These are not small fish. You guys, or even myself, are no credible people. We have no say-so over anybody in this panel or anybody else for that matter. You may can implement and do a few things here and there because you have a few, connects. But in the grand scheme of things, you don't really control what goes over my life, but these people possibly could, and they will one day. That's what the Bible says. Jay Smoothie should know that.
So let me ask you this, though. Is you scared?
No. I'm just like I just told you. I'm trying to warn people before you get touched by the fire.
Yeah,
You gotta warn people like Paul Revere did. If you don't tell nobody about the fire, then they get burned.
But you can spread that though, because the thing is, right, ain't nothing new under the sun. So all this genetic splicing and stuff, I wouldn't say the fallen watchers, but the watchers that made that agreement on Mount Sherman, they the ones who came and taught man and stuff. It's nothing new under the sun, man. That's why I say the more you get into your Bible, the more you would know that what's really going on is not really spooky. It's not like, oh my gosh. It's not to be like, oh my gosh, or nothing like that, because at the end of the day, this been happening. It just generated and progressed over time. It's the same thing, but just advanced because of technology and people. All it is the same, but at the end of the day, the main thing is all of this been going on, and don't be afraid, man. Put on the shield of the Most High Yahuwah in the name of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, and let it be that. Get into your word, get into the Gospels, and just follow the commands of the Most High. Like he said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. At the end of the day, nothing else matters, because the Bible tell you that everything you doing, it's all vanity anyway.
That's not the case. That's not the case, Jason Lily, because you forgot one Bible verse.
What?
The Bible verse where it says, if you don't warn people, if you don't tell them, their blood will be on your hands. That's what the Bible says.
Well, do it. I'm not saying
from what the Bible says, if you're not warning people about this coming fire to the fullest of your capability, so you don't have to have the knowledge that I have, but if you have a certain knowledge or capability to bring forth, truth and understanding upon these matters, then you should be doing that. And
but that's what I do.
To my fullest capability, then I'm gonna have to present people the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah, no, you're right, but and I do it though. There's not a day go by that I don't tell somebody something. It's not a day go by that I don't tell nobody nothing about the word of the Most High. And if it do go a day, I'm studying. I'm studying that day.
No, yeah, facts.
Yeah, I'm into the word and studying. So, yeah, man.
If you don't mind me asking, what part of the Bible are you reading now? If you don't mind me asking,
I read out the Sefer Bible.
The Sefer, you said?
Yeah, that's the Hebrew Bible.
Are you a Hebrew Israelite?
So when you ask that, what you mean by that? Because I know a lot of people associate Hebrew Israelites with camps